Houston, India has a problem. And no, it's not a problem that just cropped up recently. It's been a problem plaguing India for quite some time. It's a problem that rears its head every time Team India collapses in a test innings, and that's been happening more and more frequently. So what are we talking about? Well, let's just jump into it. Consider subscribing to our channel. It's free and helps us a ton. Thanks. Ever since India got rolled over for 46 in Bengaluru, this particular question has kept humming in our minds. Why was Virat Kohli batting at number 3? Which led us to the next question in our heads. Does India even have a number 3 batsman? Now, it's not that Virat shouldn't or can't bat at number 3, but for years, the number 3 has been a specialist's position. It's one of the most difficult positions to bat in a test match. As a number 3, you either come in at the fall of an early wicket, that means you should have a sound technique to be able to negotiate the new ball in various conditions and mentally strong to be able to grind through difficult ones. Or in case of a good opening partnership, you should have the wherewithal to continue the momentum. The latter looks fairly possible for any decent batsman, but the former really makes it a specialist position, and for years, India did not have to deal with this problem. For the longest time, the number 3 position had been held by 2 of the best batsmen of modern era. First Dravid, then Pujara. They not only scored heaps of runs, but they did their most important job effectively. That is, to blunt the new ball attack. Their failures coincided with Team India's batting failures. That's how important Dravid and Pujara traditionally have been to India. But don't take my word for it. The records speak for themselves. Dravid's average jumps from 52.31 career average to 65.78 in the tests that India has won, and to 71.18 in tests that not only India won, but he batted at number 3. For Pujara, the same happens. From his career test average of 43.6, the average jumps to 50.66 in tests that India won, and to 51.9 when he batted at number 3. Let's take the other side of these numbers. In the tests India lost, Dravid's average drops to 29.87, and it drops even further to 27.4 in the tests where India lost and he was batting at number 3. Same goes for Pujara. The average in tests India lost drops to 27.24. Paints a picture, huh? But numbers alone are not enough. The more important thing is what they did for India, and even more importantly, how they did it. See, in Test cricket, the new ball is generally what causes the most discomfort to batsmen because the new ball has hard seam and tends to swing and seam around more. The number 3 batsman is someone who, if comes in early, has to deal with twofold pressure. 1, to preserve wickets and avoid further damage, and 2 is to soften the new ball. So even if they don't themselves score a lot of runs, the batsman coming after could. This becomes even more important in conditions that help swing and seam movement more or have a bit of extra bounce because a new ball swings, seams and bounces more than an older ball. That makes it even more important that the number 3 batsman has a great defensive technique and has the ability to grind through difficult periods of play. Dravid and Pujara were masters of doing just that. They were the bedrock on which Indian innings used to be built. Let me bring 2 particular test matches as examples of this. Exhibit A, England vs India 2002 Headingley Test. On a tricky morning pitch which saw the ball move prodigiously under overcast conditions, it was a ground least likely to see Indian batsmen thrive. India lost an early wicket when Sehwag fell, but then came Dravid. Body blow after body blow, play and miss after play and miss. Dravid weathered the storm from the English seamers, the likes of Matthew Hoggard, Andy Caddick, Alex Tudor and Andrew Flintoff. Dravid's final score of 148 wasn't even the top score, as that accolade went to Sachin, with Ganguly too chipping with a century of his own. But the numbers alone don't tell the tale of what that innings entailed. But it did lead India to a famous win. Exhibit B is a more recent test. Australia vs India 2021 Brisbane Test. It's the 5th day and the Brisbane pitch is now exhibiting the properties of a fifth-day pitch, like uneven bounce. Now, in pure numbers, Pujara's innings is unremarkable. 56 runs in 211 balls. A very slow Pujara-like innings. In fact, others like Gill and Pant hogged the headlines for their heroics. But what Pujara did that day was grind the Aussie attack into the ground by just refusing to get out. Body blow after body blow, miss after miss, he did not throw his wicket away. Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, Pat Cummins, Cameron Green all bowled their heart out, and by the time he fell, the team was in a much safer position. The Gabatoire was conquered that day. So, coming back to the current Indian team, Dravid is long retired and no longer an option. What about Pujara though? After his loss of form and a long string of low scores, Pujara has lost his place in the side, which is understandable. Pujara is 36 now, and even if he scores heaps of runs in first-class cricket, which apparently he has, it's time for the team to look forward. It's time for India to find that next number 3. But what has been India's solution to the loss of two of the greatest defensive technicians and rocks? For now, it seems the mantle of handling the number 3 position has fallen upon Shubman Gill, and therein lies the problem. Shubman Gill is an opener by trade who's had to abandon his natural position for Yashasvi Jaiswal. So in a way, Gill is not a natural number 3 player, and there's every possibility that if and when Rohit Sharma's time as a test player comes to an end, he'll be back in his natural position. After all, Rohit Sharma is 37 and nobody knows how much longer he can go. But for the time being he's there, and that means Gill is handling the number 3 position. The other part of the equation is that Gill is a naturally aggressive player, like almost every player in this current Indian lineup. Traditionally, India's number 3 has been sound technically, especially in defense, but Gill is far from the most technically sound batsman. So a specialist position is now occupied by a temporary solution. But if he performs, it's all good, right? So let's look at how is he doing at number 3. Just looking at raw stats, he's doing great. 12 tests at number 3, averaging 43.44 compared to his career average of 36.8. 3 of his 5 test hundreds have come at this position. It all feels great. But as usual, this is only surface level. Most of his tests at number 3 have been played in home conditions. And we know when it comes to the new ball, Indian conditions are maybe the most forgiving ones with little lateral movement or uneven bounce. If you want to gauge his ability as a serious number 3 batsman, we have to look how he does in more difficult condition. Not a huge sample size, but maybe it will give us an idea. Well, that doesn't look good. Outside of India, 4 tests, 7 innings, a total of 119 runs at an average of just 19.83. Uh-oh. 2 tests in West Indies, 2 tests in South Africa, did not cross 50 even once. The South Africa tour was particularly tough on him, scoring only 74 total runs in his 4 innings. Now, as I said, it's a small sample size, and we know how difficult those South African pitches were, but that's what the role of number 3 batsman is. Negotiate difficult conditions, especially a moving and bouncing red cherry. And it's due to no fault of his, because he's not a natural number 3. And that's the problem India is facing right now. From top to bottom, they have players who are stroke makers. From Yashasvi and Rohit to Kohli, Sarfaraz and Pant, they're all aggressive stroke players. And that's fine. But where is the player to anchor an innings when things go wrong? Where is the player around whom the stroke players can rally? Who can take body blows after body blows and play and miss after play and miss, but keeps batting regardless? In the day of fast-paced cricket and T20s, it's difficult to find a modern batsman who's a grafter. And the current Indian batting lineup is the perfect example. There's not one batsman in this lineup who's built for long period of batting. It doesn't mean that they cannot score big runs, it means they can't bat time. And as much as people don't like to see it, batting time is a huge part of Test cricket. Biding time for the conditions to become easier to bat is as important as scoring quickly. But in the era of baseball and jazzball and gumball and whatever other name you can think of, where audiences demand increasingly attacking cricket no matter what, where T20 leagues across the world are more important for players than playing for their test teams, it is clear the era of grafters is over. Test batsmen with good defensive techniques who could survive testing conditions are like canary in a coal mine. So how does India even solve this? The current Indian lineup already has issues with KL Rahul being an opener shoved into the middle order, while Gill, another opener, moonlighting as a number 3. What solution can you even come up with on trickier pitches? With India's upcoming tour of Australia, the biggest challenge in front of India is finding a batsman who can weather the storm. In that regard, the upcoming India A tour of Australia could be crucial because there is a huge hole at number 3 right now. Now, Shubman Gill may well prove to be that man in the long run, but for now, the evidence suggests he is not. So we can only hope that the solution presents itself, because Australia this year and England next year await. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe and comment for more content like this.